Hey yo!
Oh, I almost
Take a sip for the Lux.
Even
Not
though we
the
don't
League of
believe
Legends.
in luck.
Not the
we're
League of
Christians.
Legends Lux, but
Don't get
Lux.
caught by the spellbind.
Okay, I won't. Welcome to Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. I'm Eric.
I'm Peter.
And I'm Rachel.
And together, with our powers combined, we form episode 35.
Correct?
Episode 35, also known as Season 2, Episode 10, Children.
Of the corn. Just kidding. There's no corn.
There is no
Children
corn.
Or of the.
And if I'm really honest, this is another episode that I'm not sure is named entirely correctly. But there are children in this episode. It does happen. Anyway, so let's do a quick recap, and we'll jump into it. I know we said this last time, that last episode was going to be a lot of, mostly, it was going to be almost more spoilers than it was other, just normal, non-spoiler content, but it totally wasn't. This one, however, I think actually will be.
It's a loaded baked potato. Like, this actually is a loaded baked potato. I've said that in the past. I was full of potatoes. This time, it's true.
Potatoes.
Forget all the other times she cried wolf, because let me tell you, this wolf, big and bad.
This wolf is a potato.
Mash 'em,
So,
stick 'em in a stew.
This episode shares something in common with 34, in that it actually begins kind of on this side story of Hanji wanting to get back to the Titan that can't walk, or the disabled Titan or whatever that's in Connie's village. So this time they show back up to the village. Remember, she sent some soldiers there. She's
Ragako.
Something like that.
Ragako.
I probably just butchered that.
What
Sorry.
Pete said. So anyway, soldiers show back up there. We'll kind of cover what they see. Then we get back to the forest, and we find out some seriously juicy details. This is the part where a lot of this we're gonna have to breeze over, and then we'll get to the spoiler section and talk about it more in depth. Anyway, get to the forest. We find out some juicy details that about when Reiner and Bertholdt and what looks like Annie all showed up, and there's a fourth guy with them, Marcel, who seems to have been eaten by Ymir when she was a Titan. Because apparently she was a Titan that
ate someone.
So anyway, we basically find out this whole story. We get a bunch of details about kind of vague details about the mission that they're on, and capturing Christa and so on and so forth. And again, we kind of see the scouts are closing in. They see the smoke signals and so on and so forth. And we get this long flashback. This flashback is Ymir's backstory.
Her childhood,
and we know, as per one of the slide screen, what do we call those? The screens in between that tell you information, available for public discourse.
I would call them slides.
The little slides in between, commercial break type.
It's the slowest slideshow of all time.
One of those informs us that we are looking outside the walls. When we see Ymir's hometown, we are in fact not inside of the walls as we know them. So that's a big revelation. It's easy to miss, like we did the first time through. In the flashback, we basically see Ymir. She's kind of taken. She's like an orphan. She's taken. She then grows up being worshipped or something like that. And then these worshippers kind of all get caught. And then we see them taken to the edge of a wall, stabbed with something, thrown off the wall. And then we see Ymir has turned into a Titan. And she's been a Titan. She roams around as a Titan in the wilderness apparently for like 60 years. Then she lays down in a hole, eats this Marcel guy, and then turns back into a human. And apparently a human with the ability to shift back and forth between Titan form and human form. So there's that. So, get a bunch of stuff from her flashback. And then and this has kind of been an argument through the whole episode, is what are they going to come back for Christa? Christa's important. We're going to discuss all of that. But at any rate, she basically says, listen, I can transform right now. I can screw your guys' whole mission up. She's saying this to Bertholdt and Reiner. Unless we stay and get Christa, you have to let me get her. So she ultimately does. She actually stays. She transforms. She captures Christa, takes off through the forest, outruns the scouts, jumps onto Reiner's back, and they're gone with the wind.
They run
1939,
into the sunset.
Riding off into the sunset. Low riders, 20-inch wheels, spinners be like, woo, woo. Oh, sorry, was it?
Except it's tips. A golden armored Titan.
All my Titan friends.
Yeah.
Drive a low rider.
Oh, sorry. Copyright. I should stop before we get sued.
Hannes, right now. Dang, that copyright infringement. Then Hannes swears on his life he's going to get Aaron back. So that's the episode in a nutshell.
Even if it cost him his life.
There's a freaking lot to kind of dig into. Sorry. Legitimately, though, we need at least some extra time for the spoilers. We're going to try and like get through this and then...
It's going to be a quick one.
All right, so the first thing is these soldiers show up to Connie's hometown, and they're looking around. They're kind of recapping some stuff we already know. There's a bunch of Titan footprints, a bunch of destroyed buildings. It looks like Titans have been all over this place, except for one crucial thing.
Mm-hmm.
No bodies.
No blood.
No blood.
And all the horses are still there.
If they evacuated, why are the
didn't
horses
they
there?
take horses? I mean, that doesn't make sense. You can't outrun a Titan.
And you got my homie, Moblito-san.
Moblito.
They call him Moblito-san, yeah. Moblito-san, and he's like asking all the questions that all of us asked. Like, why would they not take the horses? How could Titans rampage through here and nobody...
Where's all the bloody chunks of leftover people bodies?
Where's the humans?
And why would they... Basically, he says... If this looks like a village where Titans were having a field day in an empty village,
yeah,
that's hard to believe.
Yeah,
which it is. Like, why would they be doing that? There's nothing there.
Then another guy runs up with a photo that they found
of the Springers.
Yeah, Connie's parents.
Jerry Springer? This is cousin?
Mr. and Mrs. Springer.
They have to be called My Weird Mom and something.
My mom is a Titan.
So they hold up a picture, and sure enough, Connie's mom looks like a lot like the Titan who happens to be laying on his house.
Upside down in his house. And they observe that out loud, and the Titan seems to react to that by trying to get up.
Which is really creepy because she
talk
looks creepy.
Again, she's like...
And Moblito-san holds it upside down, and I think he starts to crack the code because he starts freaking out.
Shaking.
Because having to deal with the ramifications that knowing that a human can be turned into a Titan...
Must be horrifying.
Must be terribly horrifying thinking for all of your society's existence that these are the bad guys.
Especially for the scouts who have been out there taking orange slices out of necks. Like, you're realizing, I've killed people.
These potentially are all people, which
not monsters.
We haven't confirmed anything, but obviously there's some sort of connection because this is the first episode where it's 100% confirmed that a person can be turned into a Titan.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But they're turned into a dumb Titan.
Yeah.
And
a zombie Titan, as I like to call them.
Zombie Titan, dumb Titan, pure Titan, whatever you want to call it. We see this happen to Ymir. Mm-hmm. She's turned into this Titan.
Yep.
And then she wanders the desert for 60 years. So here we see Connie's mom. We realize, oh my gosh, people can turn into dumb Titans. And that's got to be a frightening reality to grapple with for these poor people.
Yeah, there's a bunch of details revealed in this episode. I did not realize how much this episode like shared. It's like once you watch forward a little bit, you realize like how much is actually being like explained.
It's layered in there. You don't realize it. You don't have the finer palette yet. You have to kind of go back and
correct.
Get what's the nose on the? Oh, I see.
I smell rosemary.
Now, having said that, though, Isayama has done an incredible job of like, stirring the imagination. Like if you're looking carefully as you watch through, you will figure some of this stuff out, right? This is not the first time we've seen this disabled Titan, and it's not the first time we've had this weird suspicion. Because remember, the episode where it shows Connie, it zooms right into Connie's eyes.
Looks just like
real close, and then it goes right to the Titan's eyes, real close. And so you might miss that, but if you're looking for it, you're like, oh, they kind of look alike.
Yeah.
And then you get to this episode, and they're basically
welcome home.
Also,
yeah, she says, welcome home. Right, she speaks
home, and then Connie also himself says, it kind of looked like my mom.
So this episode confirms what was already hinted at, right? That people, human beings, can become these Titans. Now that opens up, of course, the whole new slew of questions, which is: are all Titans people? Explain the Titan shifting kind of ability.
Yeah, exactly.
Doesn't seem to be explained.
Yeah, abnormal Titans.
Yeah. So a lot gets revealed here, but it's just this show was just layered enough, complex enough that like. I feel like my first time through, I was just trying to like catch my breath the whole time. I was just trying to track with kind of like the main stuff. And these details, though important, and they do very much play into the story, just flew. They basically flew by.
Because you don't care about that. You care about Reiner and Bertholdt and killing them.
They betrayed those jerks. Explain yourselves.
We're like Aaron right now. Like we want to get vengeance. Mm-hmm. Where Isayama's trying to tell us the whole Commander Irwin thing from season 1. What do you think the enemy is? Because it's not dumb Titans. It's
not who or what you thought it was.
It might be somebody pulling some strings, right? So
yeah. right,
we
so we
move
cut
to the puppet
forest.
masters,
Yeah.
or at least somebody on the chain, right? And you get Reiner and Bertholdt, and they're doing their deep conversation thing. Aaron and Ymir are kind of their captives right now.
Sort of recaps a little bit from the previous episodes. They see the smoke flares, and they're having a private conversation, Bertholdt and Reiner.
Yeah, we see the smoke, and we realize, oh my gosh, the scouts.
They're
here
closing in
already, and they're doing their formation, and this freaks out Reiner and Bertholdt as well because like they didn't think they could be here this quickly, and I mean,
so they come to the conclusion that it must be Erwin.
It must be Commander Erwin because
he's a
tough opponent.
Yeah, tough opponent,
and only he could put something together so quickly and be after them so efficiently and be using his formation to the full extent. But I don't know if they know this, but if you get a head start on somebody and you go somewhere
and you stop
and you sit there for hours,
perhaps they've never heard the legend of the tortoise and the hare.
I think we're seeing that happen to play out a little bit here, but they're like shocked, and I'm like, what did you think? You stopped, like I understand that they probably couldn't have kept going. They were tired, or they had to, for some reason, had to try to figure it out. But whatever.
It's definitely an underestimating it. That seems that this is not the first time that it seems like they underestimated. Reiner for sure underestimated Aaron and Titan in that battle.
Yep.
Right.
And now they've underestimated the scouts.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe they thought they did more damage than they actually did.
Yeah.
During their initial escape.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
When all the steam got released and made everything get all explodey for a minute.
I think something that contributed to this too was the fact that they already had a giant force to go try to find the hole in the wall, and that led to them having a giant mobile force that was able to coordinate between the three branches of government and hop over the wall and go as quickly as they did.
Which, is this the first time in history that that's happened? Like a joint mission like that?
I think so. And remember what Pixis said, like we can't even unite right now when we have a common enemy. Like we're already divided in the walls, but what if something could unite us all?
Okay, I know this is a super tangent because almost nothing to do with the episode, but that's such a good point. The Pixis thing where he talks about so one of the things we've talked about in the show, which is really cool, is there's not unity within the walls, within humanity. That's for sure. We'll find out a lot more about that come season 3, the first half of season 3, but there's not this unity. People are not unified against this enemy. There's a complacency that is set in after 100 years. It's just so, again, I love this show because it's so much exactly like it would, to me, exactly like it would be in real life.
Humans would be in
That's how people
reality.
are. We talk about this all the time. As Americans here, we live in a very wealthy country, and so people are inventing problems and inventing crusades to go on when there's nothing really to crusade against. All of our problems have kind of been all of our basic survival problems obviously solved. Not only that, but all of our kind of luxuries, all of our needs and wants and stuff, almost all that stuff is met. But that doesn't mean that our purpose and our our desire for meaning and stuff is fulfilled. And so we kind of try and find it in other ways, but ultimately what happens is you get what we have now, which is not just America. There's plenty of first world countries that are wealthy, everything's taken care of, but we're still just pissed at each other all the time, and we're infighting and stuff like that, and you
we're
kind of
more upset than people who barely have enough to survive.
And we have this
mad about
class
the little
warfare,
things.
forgetting that in ancient Rome, being poor at any other time in human history meant a lot more than it means being poor now. Anyway, that's not the point. Yes, a death sentence before 30. Anyway, that's not the point. The point is that seems to be the status of humanity at this point, is that Pixis is actually kind of wrong. They don't actually have a common enemy because the enemy is so distant and so not felt. The kind of desperation is so unfelt there that they don't people aren't united around it. And even when the Titans attack, right, and they lose all this territory and everybody has to come in, a bunch of people get cold, and then B, they're well, we still kind of have these walls. It seems like people sort of just settle right back into the rut.
Sasha and her father have that huge fight because he's willing to give up the land to farm, and she's no, this is our way of life. We can't give it up to these strangers.
Right.
Yeah.
Just like people would actually be.
I wouldn't say everyone is so removed. I'd say everyone but the scouts is so removed from the reality. And if you look at the way the regiments freaking act, it's the MPs, we got to maintain control. The garrison's we got to get drunk every night and mess around. And the scouts are we're dying in the streets. People are, I gotta tell,
and also
this
you
guy's
see
mom, she's murdered, yeah.
You see how much Hannes changes from when he actually sees Titans firsthand.
Right.
Fights through that whole initial attack. And then we see him, several years later. He's a different person. He's driven. He has purpose. He understands what the stakes really are.
Yeah.
And he's willing to do whatever it takes.
Well, my point here is to say that, like, they do have a common enemy, but like, not everybody sees or feels that threat.
Yeah.
And then when the threat, like, once the threat is start to be felt, like, the unity actually does happen, because this is what we're all commenting right here. Like, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves. But in this episode, right, the garrison, the MPs, and the scouts are all in this mission to go rescue Eren together. All of them. They're all on horseback. They're all going into Titan territory, like, headlong, under Commander Erwin. That's a pretty cool... That's cool. Now, that still does not mean, like, all of humanity, but it does mean that people can unify around a common cause. Amen. Especially when, you know...
When the enemy is real to them.
The stakes are high.
So they're in the forest. Having the conversation, and they realize, well, our plan to kick it here till sundown... It's not going to work out. So we got to hurry up and we got to make some decisions. And
some Bertholdt's like, who are you right now?
Yeah, Bertholdt's like,
don't worry, dude, I'm a warrior.
Hey, which personality am I talking to right now?
When you're Francis Schizo and you got to ask which friend you're talking to.
Are you a warrior or you're a soldier? He's like, yeah, no, don't worry. I'm a warrior right now. I'm going to make warrior decisions about our warrior future and not about having split stuff, right? So they begin to discuss, okay, now that I can trust you, Reiner, we need to make a decision. What are we going to do? Are we going to try to leave right now? Is Eren going to try to, like, struggle with us? What's Ymir's status? Ymir's kind of asking the same question. Eren's kind of, like, figure out what they're going to do. If they're going to wait, they don't see the smoke yet. And then they have the revelation. Bertholdt, Ymir, she's the one that ate Marcel. And we get the flashback of when they all were first there, and the camera finally zooms out, because when Isayama first showed us this,
we've seen it like 2 or 3 times already.
Flash before.
It was only Reiner and Bertholdt, and it was used to tell us how somebody risked their life for Reiner when he was young, and that's why he does the things he does now. But we didn't know was they were coming to attack the humanity, and they weren't. It wasn't just them 3. It wasn't just Reiner, Bertholdt, and Marcel. Annie was also there too. The camera zooms out a little more, and now we finally see the whole picture. So we think, until he shows us more.
Yeah. So can confirm they're a squad. Okay.
They're a squad. Yeah.
Annie, Bertholdt, Reiner, their squad. They're who Commander Erwin has been looking for. I mean, I feel like that's kind of obvious by this point, but this episode sort of like ties that together a little bit. Like, all right, it's them. These are the spies, the invaders. Yeah.
They are the elite assassins.
The way we referred to them when we weren't sure who they were was as the warriors, as like the warrior clan. They were the warriors, and they've been sent to infiltrate humanity, right? So when this happened, we realized that Ymir was the one who ate one of the members of their squad. She ate Marcel. And then we kind of start to hear about Ymir, and if she can be trusted, because she ate Marcel, and maybe she's just concerned for herself. And Reiner and Bertholdt starts to argue, and Bertholdt actually is kind of saying, no, I don't know if we can trust her. But Reiner says, I think we can trust her as a warrior, because she only cared about herself when she was roaming as a dumb Titan. But then she met Christa, and something happened when Ymir met Christa. She met somebody who was seemingly kind, who was seemingly, someone who kind of changed her perspective on humanity to a degree. And so now she's different. Now she has something to lose. And that was something they zeroed in on last episode when they said that's kind of the one thing she cares about is Christa. And that's what they can use as leverage against her. Hey, your life for Krista's life. We won't hurt Christa if you come with us, kind of mobster style. And so she says she wandered and only cared. She lived a selfish lifestyle and wandered until she met Christa. And then Ymir and Reiner kind of start to fight back and forth, and Reiner says, no, listen, we have reason to bring Christa on our side. So he's starting to set up something that we kind of argued about for a while here anyways, but for some reason or another, Reiner and Bertholdt want Christa. Now, viewers, if you could help clear this up for us.
Yeah, we discussed it at length before in the past, and we're discussing it now, and still cannot conclude why exactly, I guess, do Reiner and Bertholdt want Christa?
Now,
we think we know. Maybe this would be a spoiler thing.
Yeah,
we think we know why, but how did they get that information? Because it doesn't seem like, at least in the show, maybe in the manga, it shows that. How would they have gotten information about Christa that determines that she's important?
We'll come back to this in spoilers. We want to see the spoiler-free version right now.
What they do say, what they do say about her is,
she's an important person in a family of the church.
Yeah, And so that's what they say about her now. And so even that bit of information, it's not perfectly clear to me. So how do they know that?
He says,
Did Ymir say that in front of him?
If Aaron isn't the coordinate, having Christa with us will make it much easier.
Our search much easier.
Yeah. So as far as we know, the only people who are aware of Christa's royalty are the people who were with Hanjé when Sasha came with that
The
important
rescuers,
information. Not the people who are in Utgard Castle. That means Ymir. That means Reiner and Bertholdt.
Wait, so nobody at Utgard knows Christa's background except for Ymir, essentially.
Except for Ymir and the people who came on the rescue mission.
But it's not even clear if Ymir fully understands her background or if she just thinks she's an important person.
Right, a
yeah,
royal
yeah,
or
I
something.
don't. Yeah, I don't think Ymir does either. I think that's
So-
correct. She knows that. She kind of knows that she ended up. She was going by a fake name, and that she ended up in the Scouts as sort of like a last resort, getting kicked out of some, this family situation. But that's really all that gets said.
And when Ymir transformed, she made a promise to Christa that Christa would go by her real name and stop lying about her name. And she comes, she says, "Hey, my name is Historia." That didn't seem to be a giant revelation that like said, "Oh, by the way, I'm royalty or I'm from some important family or whatever it was." Nobody really knows what that means. They're like, "Oh, she has a different name or something." Okay, whatever. We don't see that revelation play out on camera, it seems. The next thing they do when they get out of the rubble is they all go up to the top of the wall, and before really any information is shared, Reiner and Bertholdt go bonkers and transform. So as far as we
all they know is her name. They don't know anything else.
And the only thing that we could think is Ymir explains that the reason she followed Historia or Christa was because she heard inside the church in the interior that she was an important person's daughter, and she was going to be cast out. And so we think that line could be an allusion to, she's like a hostage, basically. She's like a high up person's like daughter, so we can use this as leverage maybe in our search, but we're not quite sure. So if you could maybe spoiler free.
Yeah, just email us.
Well, we can spoil it too.
We'll sort through it. I think, like I said, basically my assumption is that maybe the manga explains how they got that information a little bit clearer. So
it doesn't seem. What's the term again? The C term? Continuity.
Continuity.
Doesn't seem with the continuity that they know what we know, and so they shouldn't have the same operational decision-making skills that we have, but they still seem to say that Christa is vital to their mission.
Yeah.
Indispensable.
So they say, you know what? Listen, it's too risky. The Scouts are coming. There's Titans all around. We're in the forest. Let's make an end to it. And they say, next time we come back here, we can get Annie and we can get Christa and we can get that back.
And Bertholdt's like, yeah, hey, that makes sense. Then the mission will be over.
And our mission will be complete.
Yeah.
The next time we get to our hometown, Reiner says to Bertholdt, you tell Annie how you feel about her. And of course, we know this is 100% correct because he goes, what did
what are you talking about, bro?
You stare too much, bro.
I don't like her. No.
Everybody noticed. Everybody noticed.
He like sweats a little bit and, sounds like he got punched in the stomach.
And then he draws a weird line, which is, you're both murderers, so short lives ahead. So we'll explain that one, of course.
You'll be perfect together, basically.
Yeah. So they say the stupidest thing they could ever say to Aaron. Aaron, don't resist. It's like, Aaron.
He gives them this expression like,
come on, man, please don't this time.
Yeah.
Did you seriously just say that to me?
The one
Do
time
you know who I am?
in your life, Aaron, could you please?
Have you met him?
Could you please comply, right? And Aaron's like, come on, guys, be safe. Listen, I'm in bad shape.
He's such a bad actor, even.
He even like backs up a little bit, like he's trying to sell it.
Yeah.
Like he's afraid.
The funny part is he throws these elbows, he knocks Reiner down, he jumps on top, and it looks like he's like tapping on him, but I don't know if you know this.
Elbows hurt way worse than fists.
Elbows thrown from the guard are incredibly damaging. They cut you up, they mess you up, they will knock you out.
That's right.
It is absolutely brutal.
So in UFC, like if you've ever watched, just for like reference here, so in UFC, one of the most brutal things, and it ends fights pretty frequently, is when the dude gets fully on top of another dude, has his knees and legs around like the torso, and is just like raining down like punches, or in a lot of cases it's elbows, right? And part of the reason for the elbows is you have like your body weight and gravity and the strength of your arm all plunging down at the same time. So even if somebody has hands up to defend their face, those elbows are going to freaking hurt. Like they're going to break through that guard a little bit, and it sucks. So
And your elbow tips are incredibly pointy.
and very hard,
And
way
all
harder than
bone.
your hands.
Yeah, way harder. And so those
He's
elbows
just
can end fights.
elbowing him directly to the face multiple times, and there's no blood exploding.
Yeah. So then, of course, Aaron pulls an Aaron. We see then Bertholdt, and he sits down and he begins to talk to Ymir. Ymir's like, hey, what's going on? Are we getting out of here? And Bertholdt says, do you remember, Annie, the person that you ate? And she says, no, I don't. I don't remember the person that I ate. But 5 years ago, if it was one of your comrades, I'm sorry for not even remembering. I thought that was like a really
She
affectionate line.
shows humanity for once in her life.
Yeah, she shows compassion, and she's like, wow, I must have killed one of your friends. I'm sorry, I don't even remember.
Yeah, remorse is
terrible-
not something Ymir tends to do.
Yeah, so I was like, okay, maybe she's turning the corner here. I don't know, right? Then Bertholdt says it was the same for us, and apparently Aaron doesn't remember anything either.
Which reveals this episode, we may as well get into it. This episode basically we're about to see Ymir's backstory, right? And we realize that she was turned into what looks to be like a dumb titan and ran around for 60 years and then just happened upon a group of people and she ate one of these people. And then that's what turned her back into a person. And not only did it turn her back into a person, but it turned her into a person with the ability to transform back and forth between this Titan form and human form, right? So there's certainly this connection that seems to make a lot of sense. We see Titans roaming everywhere and they're always trying to eat people. Maybe that's what they're all after, right? That's kind of the going theory. That's what I assumed when I watched this episode.
That's their driving instinct.
Is that they all are looking for
It's
people
the
to eat.
primal instinct.
And that there might be something about somebody that lets them turn back into a human themselves. Yeah, but there's just kind of, exactly. It's like a zombie instinct. It doesn't seem like it's very conscious. It's just
I'm going to eat all the people until I find the right one.
And what seems to be the case is that when you successfully eat somebody who allows you, and then you're transformed back into a person, is that specific event, how it happened, is not really much in your memory. And that's what Bertholdt is saying here. He's like, Reiner and I both have this shifting power. Aaron does too. These are all shifters. Ymir. These are all 4 shifters they're talking about. These are all people who have the Titan shifting power. And none of them can remember the exact moment. They might remember their life beforehand, but the moments or minutes, the kind of whatever leading up to the point at which they go to transform, or before they ate the person that gave them that power or whatever, it's all kind of fuzzy. Which is why they're basically, I'm just going to kind of say again, I'm hopefully not getting too much into a spoiler here, but there does seem to be a gap in Aaron's memory. Aaron does not seem to know how he got his power. He definitely doesn't know how they work. He didn't even know he had it at all until it just sort of happened to him one day.
Right.
So
how long does he have these powers? Where did he get them from exactly?
Yeah, so this is this line and just this whole episode is a really crucial point in the story because it reveals such a big detail. And honestly, it's so similar to the episode where Reiner and Bertholdt are like, hey, yeah, we're super cash. They're just like, yeah, so he's the Colossal Titan, I'm the Armored Titan that broke through the walls.
No bigs.
It's so cash. And this episode's sort of like that. It's like, oh yeah, by the way, this is how you get the Titan powers, and I don't remember how I got mine. And this is big information revealed in a very conversational kind of way. And there's part of me that really appreciates that because that's kind of how it would actually be. The conversation between these two would be sort of a chill conversation here.
They're having a little bit of a heart-to-heart in a way, I think.
Yeah.
Because she's showing him, I'm sorry. And
they're being vulnerable with each other, which is something we've never seen any of these guys do.
Do you resent me? And he admits, I don't actually know.
Yeah, hard to say, right?
As Aaron is being choked into unconsciousness.
Yeah, as his eyelids are fluttering, we hear Ymir say, I was outside the walls wandering for 60 years.
Because Bertholdt asks, how long were you wandering out there? And she says, I don't know, about 60 years. Which, how does she know that?
She said it felt like a nightmare that would never end.
Yeah.
I don't know how she knows the time frame. I don't know if they explain that part.
Because she was buried underneath the ground for several decades. So how would she even... Anyway, that's not the point.
So the next cut is actually the scouts.
Yeah.
And it's that short clip. We kind of already covered this where they shooting flares. They realize they're surrounded actually. So they're headed for the forest. They're almost there. They're shooting up red flares or all around. So they realize they're like surrounded by Titans. And Erwin says, all right, we're not going to attack. We're not here for battle. We got to prioritize. If we don't go straight there, we're not going to make it there in time. We got to go fast. And he basically says, prepare for battle. And then, is that the cut where they showed the garrison and some of them? That might be later, actually. Where they show the MP get eaten and stuff.
It's a little
I think
later.
it's yeah.
Doesn't matter.
I don't think it matters.
The point is, they're fleeing. They're running. They've tied up Aaron now, attached to Reiner's back. Bertholdt has got
the next scene. Yeah.
Ymir around his back. She's willingly coming with him, and Aaron is bound and gagged. And
Ymir has
at
fully
least somewhat
grown back
unconscious.
both of her missing limbs at this point.
And they're beginning to use their ODM gear to flee the jungle. As they're doing this, Ymir has this like sense, this realization, this revelation. She says, Christa's here. She's with him. And Reiner's like, that's crazy. How could you even see? Bertholdt's like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, I know she's here. It's like, do you have a sixth sense? She's like, no, she's just that kind of dumb, stupid, good person who would come after somebody and rescue them.
Mm-hmm.
She's here. And you know what? We can go right now and we can get Christa.
Yeah. Because Reiner has basically just said, you know, in this previous conversation, like, Christa's important. And Ymir now knows this. Like, okay. So Christa is important to Reiner for what seems to be some kind of tactical reason, though it's not perfectly clear yet. We know she's important to Ymir because Ymir has an emotional attachment to her and kind of basically sees her as the only person who's ever like loved and understood her.
And related to her.
So she's like, yeah, so this is our chance, basically. Like, if we can wait for a chance, or Reiner's saying, hey, listen, we need to wait for a chance.
We need to wait for an opportunity. Now is not the good opportunity.
We're going to skip this next line because that's just too...
Okay.
All right.
She says it.
She says it. She says, all right, she says a line, will that be after I'm eaten by one of your warriors? Let the reader understand. We'll talk about it in spoilers. But yeah, I'm going to let your imagination run wild on that one.
And
he kind of
that's a line
ignores
flew
that
by.
and then just explains to her all the logical reasons why now's a bad time.
He says, now you have to trust me. Like, there's too many Titans around. There's too many scouts around. There's no way we can get in and out. Bertholdt says we're probably going to barely get out with our lives. If that, how could we also go back and get one person and get out as well?
Yeah, he's like, trust us, though. Christa's indispensable. Like, we are going to come back for her. Just, like, it can't happen right now.
Not today, Satan. Sorry.
And Ymir says, I don't trust you because at this rate, I won't ever be able to see her again. And
She's kind of sad.
And Reiner says, listen, I want to save her from this conflict as well, but this is not the way we can do it. And Ymir says, well, I have to lie to myself again. And with that, I think we go into our flashback.
We have a flashback.
Yeah. So, hang on a second. I'm going to make sure. Okay, sorry. This is where we get the little clip. There's a little slide, informational slide that comes in that says Ymir's hometown. Not much is known about Ymir's hometown, except that her hometown is certainly outside of the confines of the wall.
Which, when we first watched this show, we argued about this for like weeks.
We could have known.
We could have known way in advance that, yeah, because we were like, no, she was over here. No, she was over there. We had no idea because they don't tell you much about the geographic location of what's outside the walls. We as viewers have never seen it
This is one of the first times we technically have, but this is the first time where, because of this slide, if we would have been paying attention the first time through, it's confirmed. We now know that we are watching
because we
events.
Yeah.
We argued about whether or not her hometown was inside the walls or outside of the walls.
Yeah.
Extensively.
It was
Where
a very
she was,
heated debate.
What she was, yeah.
For a long time.
So
outside the walls.
we see this is occurring outside the walls in Ymir's village. We don't know where. And Ymir begins to kind of narrate what her life was like. We see her as, obviously, she's a street urchin. She is a homeless girl. She's hanging out with a bunch of young homeless kids. They barely have clothes on them. They're obviously beaten down, looks like malnourished. And two guys show up and they say, hey, how about this one? How about this one? How about this one?
Oh,
And
this looks like a promising one.
they're looking over these kids and they kind of pick a kid out. And I'm like, okay, I'm about to cut somebody. I don't know what's about to happen, but I'm going to stab this guy right here.
Who are these orphan kids? They're just like street kids living together. They look very young.
Mhm.
Like,
all under the age of 10.
yeah, for sure under 10. Some maybe as young as
Maybe
like
the oldest one
4
is
or 5
10.
even.
Yeah.
Ymir looked like she was probably 4 or 5.
So they grab her and they say, listen, you're going to come live with us now and your life is going to be much different. And you're like, I'm going to stab these guys. I'm just 100% ready to go full.
I mean, the last time we saw somebody trying to take a kid, it was for
very
sex
nefarious
trafficking,
reasons.
essentially.
Right.
And we knew, we're like, you're horrible people. Like, I hope you get stabbed. And they did get stabbed. So it worked. That one worked out.
True for pedophiles. So he says,
Not for pedophiles, for the ones wanting justice against them.
sorry, that's what I meant. That's what I meant to say. Wishes do come true if you're wishing bad things against pedophiles. Anyway, all right. So he says, you're going to come live with us now. Your life's going to be different. And Ymir basically narrates us like, yeah, her life was different.
Well,
and she was placed on a throne.
he says one more key line. He says, a brand new life calls for a brand new name.
Oh, yeah.
And he says, your name will be Ymir. So she apparently, orphan kid, we don't know where she came from.
We don't
anything
even
about
know
her parents.
her name.
Does she even know her own name?
I don't know.
Probably
That's a
not.
good question, actually.
She probably doesn't remember it.
She was
because
very young.
So young.
But they give her the name Ymir. So that's not her given name. So just that's
Lady
important.
Ymir.
Lady Ymir. And they say that Lady Ymir, who has the blood of the king, who runs in her veins. If we worship her and follow her, we will be blessed with immortality. And you can see, hey, what a coincidence. Another cult.
Another cult. Which this is part of our big argument was this scene shows another kind of religious cult, and if that cult and the religion, if all this flashback is happening outside the walls, it suggests a lot. Number one, there's an entire civilization outside the walls. Not only is there an entire civilization, but this civilization has its own kind of like cult or religious like thing, and
which I think Isayama is playing fast and loose with the whole cult thing, because like
yeah, right.
I've been around. I don't think I've ever ran maybe one.
What,
maybe
where they picked
one
up a
cult.
kid off of the street and worshiped the kid, you mean?
No, I'm just saying I've run into probably maybe one cult that I know of. But
okay, but like
Isayama's like, oh, they got a cult. And they got a cult over there.
Everybody, cult for everybody.
Everybody gets a cult.
Okay,
yeah.
but hey, okay, remember, this is there's a bit of historical fiction here.
That's true.
This is all taking place in a kind of like early industrial age type setting. Like, it's kind of hard to pin it, but it's definitely like the walls look a little medieval, but they have like steam powered stuff. They have guns and gunpowder. Like there's clearly like a maybe 1700s ish vibe, something like that going on here. And my point is to say that like there would have been more and there would have been more culty probably stuff going on then.
People are probably way more susceptible to cult. I don't know. Even right now, online, you're pretty susceptible to some cults.
Now with the internet, everybody's in a cult. So, yeah. So, anyway, quick note on this is I do love this play, though, because, again, we have... Isayama seems to have a fairly accurate concept of like Western religion, actually, is what I would say, because both this cult and the wall cult, their kind of tenets, the way that they talk, the way that they dress, look a lot more like, you know, Western Christianity, Catholicism of you know, history and days gone by.
Kind of more orthodox.
Yeah, it doesn't look and sound and feel like the more Eastern religions. Like, he's definitely kind of nailing, like, and I would say he's doing a fairly good job of like, okay, this is kind of weird crap. This must be weird crap those white guys do, which
those
accurate.
Europeans, yeah.
So to me, it's very clear this cult is meeting in secret. It's underground. There's no windows. They're all dressed the same. In these white robes, except for this one guy.
Yep, they're bowing to her on the throne and saying that she's some sort of got the blood of kings and immortality.
She has inherited the blood
immortality.
of the king. Like, who the heck is this king?
But we see on her behalf now.
She says, yeah, it wasn't all bad, actually.
I get to eat. People
My
worship me.
food is warm. I have a warm bed. People need me for some reason.
She says, the biggest thing was I was needed by somebody. I felt needed. And this
served a purpose.
Man, that rings true. Think about all of the radicals throughout the entire world. Everybody's looking for a purpose. Everyone's looking for a reason. Everyone's looking for something to fill them. And we know, like I was talking about earlier, it's not just physical things that can do that. That cannot give you purpose. That cannot fill you. If that was the case, rich people would never have bad lives.
They would just be happy. They wouldn't be pissed all the time. Yeah.
They'd never commit suicide.
Yeah,
but guess what?
Famous stars and rich stars and stuff like that.
How many celebrities do you know that have committed suicide?
Well, there's been a rationalized.
How many celebrities do you know who do drugs, who try to escape
or even
their
murder
reality?
Suicide. That's that's terrible.
Because they're looking for something and they've been told all their lives that, you know, consumerism, if we just have the right thing, if we have the right house, we have the right car, if we have the right job, if we have the right wife, if we get all the right things,
then
we'll be satisfied. Then you'll be happy. Then you'll be happy. Then you'll be happy. And guess what? It's not true.
Yeah. It's not that simple.
When you've been told all your life this is how something works, and you finally get it to line up, you do the right thing. You go to college, you get the degree, you get the job, you get the house, you get married. You're trying to find what we would call the American dream. And you've been sold a bill of goods, and you're still not satisfied in your heart. You still are looking for that purpose, and you realize material things can never fill a purpose.
Well, yeah, even beyond that, I think in our society now, I think a lot of people might at least acknowledge to some extent that material things won't necessarily make a person happy. I think that there's like a general
There's a big
agreement.
movement towards that, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a general agreement on that, and so what it's replaced with is okay. Well, what I need is meaning, which is, I would say, technically that is accurate, and that's what Ymir's looking for here too. That's what she's saying is, what I found was I was needed by somebody, and I served a purpose, and there's simply no doubt that for a human being that is more satisfying than the abundance of just goods, right? Yep. So material things, being physically comfortable isn't what's necessary. What's necessary is to have meaning and to serve a purpose. Now, the interesting thing here is to go a step further is, and the reason I bring up that in our society that people do seem to want to move that direction, in some ways it's a good thing. The problem is that in Ymir's case and in real life, finding a meaning and a purpose still does not equate to happiness. If for nothing else than the fact that it's temporary. In Ymir's case, is exactly what happens. Like the whole thing like falls apart.
Yeah.
But it's fairly obvious that she's not, I have a purpose and people kind of need me now and stuff like that, and now I'm happy. She does not say that. The reason I bring that up is because, again, in kind of the world we're in now, there's this big movement towards like, find your purpose, like find your meaning. My meaning is XYZ, and since people don't have religion anymore, it's basically all politics. Which is, and the thing is it turns out it still won't make you happy. It still does not. That is not the thing that actually makes a man or a woman happy. Feeling needed, long term. That's what I'm saying. It is more satisfying than material goods, and yet it is still chasing. People are still chasing a ghost in a way. So, quick line: there's this old Catholic mystic dude named Hans Urs von Balthasar.
Hit him.
What a name.
Let me tell you.
Good old Hans Urs.
Hans Urs, dude.
Von Liechtenstein or?
Balthasar.
Von Balthasar.
Von Balthasar.
Yeah, of course.
Wrote a book that is published in this interesting pink color, and a book called On Prayer, I think, or something like that. Anyway, difficult to read because it's like from a long time ago and translated from German a long time ago. Anyway, interesting because I feel like that book actually fits very much in the period that Attack on Titan takes place. Anyway, his quote, one of his kind of famous quotes, is that he says humans, we, the image of God, are thirsts incarnate, which means we have this weird ability to never actually be fully satisfied. We go for the thing we want, we get it, and we have to continue on, and we have to continue on, and it's not just physical. Again, you can have all the goods, and it's not even just, I found people who need me, or I found a purpose or something like that. Let me tell you right now, anybody who's had a friend longer than about 5 years can tell you, even finding a great friend, sometimes that friend's going to piss you off. And you're not going to find meaning in that person either. It's still something beyond that. Yeah. I think the thing that people actually need is spiritual meaning, which is what, even in the show, it seems like people are actually looking for. But anyway,
I would say
we have progressed. Sorry, go ahead.
Just to throw another one out there, maybe not quite as fancy as
Hans
Urs von Liechtenstein Balthasar the third. I'd go one more. Sir Topham Hatt from
what?
Yeah, Sir Topham Hatt from Thomas the Tank Engine. You ever seen it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So also profound.
Very profound, actually. And I could talk about this for a while, but the biggest thing in that show, what's the biggest thing that those tank engines want?
From Thomas?
Period.
Their job.
They want to
work.
Useful.
A very useful engine is what they always say. Yeah. And they're very cross, because it's an English show. They're very cross when they cannot, or they fail at their job when they can't be a very useful engine. They want to feel useful. Why? Because that incurs value. Yeah. When we feel valuable, we feel good. We feel good about ourselves, right? Mm-hmm. And so here I think Ymir is saying, I felt needed by somebody. I felt useful. I felt valuable. That's the first time a homeless kid ever felt like anybody cared about her. It was this weird a cult worship thing, and she didn't
So
say
strange.
no. She didn't say stop because it's the first time she felt valuable. Is this what love feels like? Well, actually, no. Sorry, Ymir, it's not. But it's the closest thing she has. She's going to hold on to it, right?
I have some things.
Hit it.
Okay, so the first time through this, I think a lot of this flashback kind of just was lost on me because I had already decided that Ymir was a piece of crap and I didn't like her. But this time around, I've tried to have more of an open mind and like figure her out a little bit more. And I realized during this whole part of the episode a couple of things. So she was obviously, she didn't have parents. Otherwise, they wouldn't have just been able to pick her off the street randomly.
Right.
So she had been abandoned by the only people that shouldn't have abandoned her.
Right.
And wasn't cared for. And then these people brought her in and they gave her all the things you guys are talking about. But she also had people coming to her and confessing to her their deep desires and their wants. And I think this is how she learned her superpower, is by observing people, observing their motives, and seeing the things that made them tick because they were, they wanted immortality or whatever. She learned how to watch people and how to get what she needed from them. I think
She was a good
that's
listener.
where that came from.
Yeah, she had to manipulate to get
to
have
get
any of her
food and
needs met.
shelter, and to she had a lot riding on keeping this facade going. But she also has revealed, it has also been revealed that deep down, Ymir actually is a good person. She just has had a really crappy life. And
She's
you
been
see
taught-
that
she's
when
been taught wrong by everybody and been rewarded wrong for
But
trying to do the right things.
I saw that when the soldiers broke in to this illegal meeting that was going on, and the priest immediately turns on her and
That's
says,
justice.
"It's all her fault. She told us that she was
She had the blood of the king.
She had the blood of the king, and she told us to do this." And like he throws her in front of these men with guns, and she's still not a fully grown person.
Yeah,
She's
16.
still a kid, 16, 17-year-old,
teenager,
maybe. And then she looks out at the people that have been giving her shelter and food and, basically worshiping her as a deity, which she knows she isn't. And they're terrified. And they're, with their eyes, without their words, are pleading for her, "Please don't tell the truth. Please don't tell the truth."
They put the gun in her face and like, "Is it true? Like, are you the one or whatever?"
And
then,
she looks out.
that
and
one congregant's like, the really subtle, like, "Don't turn us in.
Please don't turn us in." And she chooses to sacrifice herself to try to save the only people who've ever shown her any kind of value or kindness.
She tried to do something selfless.
She
here. I
tried.
think so.
I don't
She
know if you guys are
genuinely
reading
tried.
the situation the same way I read it.
Okay, what do you think?
Go ahead and finish. I just don't want to.
Well, and then she tried to do the right thing, and it didn't work out. All those people still got beat up. You see them all being taken to this wall, wherever it is, and they're all bloody, and people are throwing rocks at them and throwing hate at them, and that causes her to give up on trying to be good. I think that was when she decided that she wasn't going to do what other people wanted her to do anymore. She wasn't going to try to save people because she didn't want to be a hero. And she's always, with Christa especially, getting on her for trying to sacrifice herself to be a hero because she doesn't think there's any value in it anymore. And it almost makes her angry when somebody like Aaron or Historia want to lay their life down for someone else for no reason in her mind, because to her there's no good reason.
It doesn't work out. It always
there's no point in trying to be good because it's just going to go all to crap anyway.
I agree. I think she tried to practice virtue, and in her attempt at virtue, which is a pretty flawed attempt at virtue, because she is telling a lie. For
I was going to
starters.
say the virtue is flawed because it's based on a lie, and
but
therefore it's
but
not
what Rachel's
correct.
saying is like, who would have taught her otherwise? There's a sense here where like she wouldn't have had the compass.
Sure.
Yeah,
the moral compass is for sure not from these cult people, and she was abandoned or something as a kid, it seems. So, like, how would she have known any better?
I'll disagree with you there a little bit too.
Okay, but her attempt, her attempt at doing virtue seemed to, like, okay. Here's the thing: some sort of a side comment. Virtue, when you do virtue, this is a biblical principle. While we're talking about Bible stuff, is this something that gets promised in the Bible? Because this is something that gets promised by Jesus to people who believe in Him and want to follow Him. Is that, hey, listen, you're going to follow me. The world is going to hate you. Like, you are going to do righteousness, and people are going to want to persecute you for doing that righteousness. And there's this this common misconception. It's common to literally every human, which is that if I do good things, then good things should happen to me.
Yeah.
And so when we do something good, or at least what we think, or we do our best attempt at doing something good, and then it turns out bad, that tends to be the thing that makes somebody jaded. And they're like, oh, well, I did good things and I got bad stuff in life in return. And especially true when that same person witnesses somebody else doing bad stuff and then they get good stuff in return. And so they come to this incorrect conclusion that virtue is pointless.
Yeah. And I think that whole event is what broke her and made her so jaded and so harsh and so,
I agree.
Difficult to care about. But deep down under all of that, we see little glimpses of that good part of her still flickering. Mm-hmm. It's not completely dead.
Now I'm on Team Rachel, but convince me. What's your counterpoint?
It's not completely different. I'm very
okay.
We're very much on the correct side of there. I'm just not sure that they were saying don't turn us in. I think that they were saying don't say that our religion is a lie. Because what do you mean turn us in? They're already turned in. The guards are already there. They already caught them. It's not like she's gonna say,
yeah.
I said I was a deity. Yeah, but we caught you worshiping her.
Yeah.
So even if she says no, it was me. Like no, you're still doing it.
He's trying to make
I
it
sold
seem
the
like
drugs.
she
Yeah, but they're doing the drugs,
to.
right?
But what the
Hang
dude
on.
just said?
The
priest.
Sorry.
So he says, bursts in like it's this girl, it was all her or whatever, she told us all these things, and then she looks at the crowd and it's like in that moment she could be like, no, it's a lie, these guys put me up to it, I'm nobody, and that would break all of their hopes and their dreams and all of their religion and all of what they've put their hope into. It would completely break it, and they'd be like, shoot, now we're gonna get murdered for worshiping a false god, and our hope, our deity,
God wasn't real.
Our God just denied it, right?
Yeah.
Or she could try to give him hope in the end and say, I have the blood of the king.
She does do that.
And that's what she says. And the girl's like, please don't, like, tell him, like, you're the lady Ymir, you're the one, I feel like she's trying to infer hope and say, I'll give you one more thing to believe in.
I think maybe it's both. I think it's
both. What you're saying.
It doesn't matter which one it is.
The result is the same.
The result is the same. She tries to do the right thing and what her mind is. And she ends up getting beaten and persecuted and murdered for it. And as a result, she says, what's the point? Because that's when you expect, like you were saying, to get good for good and you don't get good for good, are you still going to do the right thing?
Yeah.
Even when there's no
and then they show that exact same person right in front of her. The next thing you see is that person get thrown off the wall. There's that light that we all know means a Titan has transformed.
Yeah.
And then that's when you see her break.
Yep.
And she says, please don't.
She's like,
please.
no, can we put a stop to this?
I was reminded that everything was a lie.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because her whole life was based around this lie that she was this royalty person.
Now, okay, quick thing. Sorry. The people that were in there worshiping her, our two kind of visions of what happened there really rest on whether or not those congregants, I will say, whether they knew that she was royal or not. Because the dude who went and found her seemed like it was like in the dark of night. They just like went and found one and were like, oh yeah.
It showed, there were two people that found her.
I'm sure that those two guys didn't really believe that she was what she was.
No, those two, but you're saying the congregants, they would have believed
obviously, because that's what they were
I'm
told.
Why
would you put on a robe and go worship someone who wasn't?
Which is also why it seems like it's the same dude who tries to throw under the bus and is like, okay, whatever.
Crap,
like, like
he's grifting off of these people. This is the con, and she's going along with it. But she actually cares about these people. He doesn't care for them at all.
They show his face when he takes her as a kid, and then they show him turn on her later.
Yeah.
It's the same guy.
So he's a jerk. Fortunately, he got what he came for.
The other thing I disagreed partially on is
you don't think she was abandoned?
No, she was abandoned, and it's terrible. Your terrible upbringing is absolutely terrible, and I hate abusive parents, and I'm like so protective of kids, and I hate the fact that people's bad choices affect children.
Mm-hmm.
I hate the fact that children get taken advantage, and I hate the fact when children don't have a good role models, a good mom or a good dad to like teach them what is right from wrong. It's so sad to me. It's a tragedy, but that doesn't excuse you because everybody has a conscience, and Ymir even says, "I knew it was a lie."
True,
and she kept going with the lie. She was manipulated, don't get me wrong. She's totally manipulated. And she didn't, a lot of times, get taught what was right. But she knew somewhere down deep that this was all a lie. This wasn't true.
Yeah.
Which,
there was
yeah.
something that was wrong going on, and she chooses to try to do what was best to not upset everybody because she thinks that was right, even though she knows this is a lie. Let me tell you something. A lie is never where you can start. You can never start a good life off of a lie. You can never start virtue off of a lie. It will not last. The truth will set you free.
It's fake virtue if it's based on a lie,
Okay.
which it is tragic. But that's all she knew.
I'll counter one more time since we're here.
Okay.
Here's what I would suggest. I would say that in whatever length of time she was there, serving as this like worshipped deity, knowing that she was not, in fact, I would totally agree with you. I'd say in that sense that this isn't true. Again, manipulated. I think there's still a little gray area there, but she says, yeah, I knew it was a lie. During that time period, yeah, I think you're kind of doing something wrong. However, again, in her skewed version of what virtue, of what good looked like, I think she was actually trying to make the right decision.
She was trying.
When she said, I am Ymir, the blood runs through me.
Yeah.
She was because the reason I say that is because she didn't have a lot of light in her eyes about what righteousness is. She doesn't really know exactly what virtue is. That so she's doing her best attempt at virtue then.
I agree.
But I would say, in the time before that, maybe she wasn't.
Which I think is yet another reason why Historia's behavior and Aaron's behavior are so annoying to her, because those two are exhibiting
They have
actual real virtue. And when you've been in the dark, the light offends you.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, last point on this. Just because I was reading this just this morning. Okay, Psalm 15. There's a verse in there that says, a good man, a righteous man, swears to his own hurt and does not turn away. So the point of that is that, again, doing the right thing, even when it costs you something, and staying the course, that's what righteousness is. That's what virtue looks like. So that's the difference between. That's why I'm at the end of this whole thing, I'm still not on Team Ymir. I think by the end of it, I think she goes, I think she's wrong. I think she chooses the wrong way.
I have more compassion for her now than I did before.
Agreed.
And I can see that she is trying to do some good in her own super twisted, codependent way that the only way she knows, because she's broken and she doesn't know anything else.
I definitely agree.
Agreed. Okay, so they get stabbed with something. They get chucked off the wall, including Ymir.
You see the silhouette of a syringe, but that's really it.
Yeah. Ymir wanders around in the wilderness. What's her... She kind of is narrating this whole thing.
She says, I convinced myself this was punishment. The punishment was not just for lying, but it was also for convincing myself that I was needed by someone, for convincing myself to lie, like to lie to myself.
Yeah.
She's basically saying this is punishment for like allowing her to the lavish life, allowing her all these like good things.
When she knew it was based on something untrue.
When she knew it was based on something untrue.
Skews to your point.
That's kind of why I was drawing that.
I'm with you.
Then,
so, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, so she then is like so sad emo Titan.
You see her running. Titan. You see her like running on all fours until her face is like down in the dirt because she's exhausted.
Hey, Ymir, you want to greet some people? No, man, I'm not feeling it today. I'm just.
Then she runs some more and then basically just lays down in a hole
and then
until the earth covers her slowly over time.
Yeah.
Which, if you study geology in any measure, takes decades.
Yeah. 60 years may be anyway.
I might be long
Just
enough.
her shoulder and like part of her head were sticking out of the ground, and it was so little of her that they didn't even realize they were camping basically right on top of her.
And then Attack on Titan turns into an episode of Tremors, and she pops up out of the ground
like daisies.
Oh my gosh! Look at that!
You see these poor kids like in their campsite he's carrying firewood. Like,
what a great way to work. So we've seen this flashback multiple times, and then this is the scene where you are expecting
it all together.
Where it ties the whole thing. You see Annie. You see them there. We kind of already covered all this part, but yeah. So she pops up. Pops Marcel in her mouth.
Like the scariest Daisy you've ever seen in your life.
She then wakes up from this nightmare, and
she's under the stars.
She's under the stars. It's actually really beautiful. It's a little awkward because she's naked. Like you're like, this is getting weird. But
how are you not cold? It's
haven't
a desert.
You had dreams where you're in the desert under the stars, completely naked?
There's this strange just
being
trail of like really bright, shimmering stuff that almost looks like the aurora borealis, but it's the wrong color.
If you've ever been if you've ever been in an extremly rural place,
it looks like a river of light to me.
It actually looks like that. I'm not kidding. It's pretty similar to that.
When there's everything.
Yeah, when you're in a truly, truly dark place, like really middle of nowhere, and you can really see the stars on a good like summer night, like the Milky Way is not hard to see. It's very apparent. But you're right. It could be like a Northern
You do
Lights
see
thing.
speckles though in the Milky Way arm.
There's magical dust.
They're taking some anime liberty here.
Or are they? Because the last
This
time
is what
we
I'm
thought
saying.
that, they pulled something on
I
us, bro. We
think
can't
that
trust
there's more
Isayama.
to that
Now,
than anything because you see that same stream of light going through the middle of the sky.
Anyway, it's
I would
beautiful.
argue it is weird.
I almost
They're trying to
spoiled
illustrate
stuff.
her sense because she says her line here is, I saw what I saw for the first time again was freedom, right? And she's under the stars, and birthday suit. That's as free as it gets. Let me tell you.
Yeah. But this is her kind of
Naked in
rebirth.
the
And
desert.
it's her rebirth, and she's like, decided I wasn't gonna lie anymore.
Because before she was manipulated, she was told, "Hey, you have to lie. This is how you survive. This is how you get what you want. Is you lie." And now she's got this new chance. She's under the stars. No one's around her. She has this power, and she says, "How am I to decide to live my life?" And we've commented before, like, other people are like, "I'm going to do what's right. I'm going to stand up." She's like,
No.
I'm going to do whatever I want to do.
I'm going to live for myself.
I'm going to go steal, pillage, and destroy
But
the world.
She at least
She
says,
tried again.
I'm done telling lies. I'm not going to pretend to be someone anymore. And kind of the thing that I was drawing on is she's like, I'm no longer a slave. I'm not going to act like how they wanted me to act. I'm going to
Yeah.
act how I want to act, which partially is freeing, unless you're incredibly unvirtuous, which immediately shows her.
She does
stealing
crap,
and robbing and like
Scamming people.
scamming
This is
people.
why I'm saying is ultimately by the end of this episode, I think Ymir's in the wrong. I don't like her. I'm not on her team
She
because
even admits that she's
she
wrong and
says-
she doesn't care.
But we understand her a little more.
imagine somebody real quick. Imagine somebody hops on your Instagram right now, finds a picture, a selfie of you, and just is like, ugly AF, right?
It happened to me this morning.
Period. At least I'm being honest.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's basically what this is. This is Ymir and goes and lives a
that's
life
just-
of petty
She's
crime.
like, I'm not going to give no Fs anymore. That's my way of living. It's like,
She
that's not
only
a
lives-
beautiful way of living, bro.
She only lives for herself. She talks. She belittles everybody she talks to. She puts down every single person. Like, in the name of being honest, she's a complete a-hole. That doesn't fly with me. I'm sorry, it just does not work. You cannot tell me like, oh well, I had to tell this guy he sucked because he did, and I was just like, I wasn't going to live a
Someone
lie
had to
anymore because
tell
I used to live a lie because he's I was in this cult thing, and now I'm not. Like, I'm sorry, but like, there's a kinder way to do. There's a virtuous way to lead somebody into the truth. Like, hey, maybe you don't need to pursue a career in singing because it's whatever.
Speak the truth in love, not
Yeah.
in rage.
But Ymir does not do that. She's just a jerk. She's just a straight up like embittered jerk who tried virtue and just like, oh, that wasn't for me. Now at least I'm
So
gonna
now
like,
she's speaking-
I'm not gonna lie
yeah.
about who I really am. This is my true self. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
live my truth. I hate that crap. I'm gonna live my truth and just be a jerk to everybody. And then Christa's like the one girl who like is so kind. She sees this girl who's a jerk to everybody and is like, you know what? Despite the jerkiness, I'm still gonna be nice to her. And then Christa's like. Or sorry, Ymir's like, I love you, Christa. Like, you're the only person who's like ever been nice to me. And then in the end, she's like, I don't care if Christa lives or dies. I'm so self-centered. I just want to see her again. F her future.
Which is
Ymir sucks.
It's very strange. It's very strange. It's complicated. It's complex.
I don't understand that either. Like I got no defense
I
for
wonder
that.
if Isayama was like brought into a cult when he was a young child.
I don't
and,
know,
like,
man.
He wrote
Like
himself
himself,
into this. But essentially, we understand Ymir a bit more. I definitely feel bad for her. I
think-
want her to have parents. I want her to have friends that love
Yeah.
and care about her and speak life into her. And I want her to choose willingly to do the right thing and speak the
Well,
truth in
I
love.
think the other thing I've realized about Ymir is that she's a truly hopeless person, and she has attached
All
hope
her hope
to Christa.
Just what I was saying about
But
don't.
But
there's
it's not
just
gonna give you
seeing
meaning.
her, just being in her presence, it doesn't even really have anything to do with Christa or what Christa wants or what her future is.
Yeah.
It's all about Ymir.
It's all about
She's
Ymir.
only about herself.
But there's a parallel here. There's a couple parallels. One is we've seen Aaron as another person who really influences everybody around him. Right? We see John really change his personality based on Aaron's impact. Conny and Sasha and all these people kind of change. Armin, they all kind of change and want to be better because of Aaron.
He inspires them.
This
Yeah.
is a similar thing happening with Christa. Like Ymir wants to be better, wants something because she
Christa.
feels like, wait a second, you're not completely hopeless and I'm completely hopeless and I like that about you and I want to
Yeah.
be around you because you make me want something better, I think.
Yeah.
So there's something like that happening here where
She's still a bit of a
she's
codependent
wor-
leech, but
she's
yeah.
worth
Yeah.
fighting for. And then on top of that, Ymir was worshipped all of her life and now here she is worshiping Christa.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. So
She's projecting herself onto Christa.
in her flashback, we see her sealing stuff. We see the scene where she's in the church and she kind of hears about Christa being kind of I can't remember the line they use. Basically, like, oh yeah,
she's better off never being born.
She's better off never being born. They say send her off to the cadets. She hears that line. Then we see her in the cadets, and then we see her meeting Christa, and she's like, and then I met you, and this girl, she smiles back at me, and she was kind to me, and so on. And like they show her being a jerk. They show
to Sasha.
They show Christa, Historia, taking the bread, taking some of her own bread, pocketing it so she could give some to Sasha, which is like a truly kind thing to do. And like, anyway, she's like, so this, she puts all her hope in the one person who is like nice to her, which again, don't put your hope in people like that, folks. Anyway, so then it cuts back to the woods and she goes, all right, you guys, like, listen, I'm going to transform. I could transform right now.
I could fight you and kill you.
I could fight you and kill you because I'm in the best position of anybody, and I could take Eren and run back to the scouts. How about them apples? So let me tell you, if we don't stay here, you don't get like I'm fast in these trees. Like you need to give me a chance to go get Christa or deals off.
And she makes a good point. She says, "You guys are slow right now. This is perfect environment for me, right?" Mm-hmm. And like this is true. She's like, "Guess what? I could go back. I could take Eren, and you wouldn't like that. Or I could go back. I could grab Christa, and I could come back, and we could get out." And they end up allowing her, even though they don't want her to. She's like, we could get crazy. I could cut you guys. Let's go.
She like nuts. Basically almost kills Bertholdt.
Yeah.
She's being crazy. And she's
she
like,
even
do you
says,
need more proof that I
let
can
me
be
show
crazy?
You how crazy I am. And she looks
like,
directly at Crazy Face himself.
This is like
when she says that.
When you're talking to a woman, and she's like, oh, you think I'm being mad right now? Do you want me to get mad? And you're like,
you're already mad, though.
Nobody in the world has ever wanted somebody to get mad at that. Anyway. So she's like, I can be crazy. You want me to be crazy? Like, dude, you're already being crazy. We don't not believe that you're not crazy, Ymir. Okay. So Ymir ends up transforming. We see the flash in the forest.
Cuts to the scouts, and this is what we were talking about earlier, where you see the 3 regiments, and one of the MPs gets taken up. But it's still a good moment to be like, oh, the garrison, operation. Like everybody's here.
Hannes is here.
Yeah.
Erwin's here.
And so Erwin kind of this is where he gives the order, like, hey, don't engage in battle right now. That's not the mission. We need to go into the forest. Like, we have to get Eren.
Locate and rescue Eren.
So everybody rushes in. They kind of, we see, what am I trying to say? We see Armin. We see Mikasa, Conny. Like, everybody's kind of like rushing in there. And
Armin's like, go towards the light because he saw the flash.
So
it's the one time you do want to go towards the light.
Yeah. So then we see Ymir. So Ymir shows up, transformed. She's in Titan form. Conny recognizes her and calls off some of the I don't know if they're garrison or MPs, but
they're about to fight her.
Conny has seen her in Titan form before. He actually knows. He's like, wait, guys, hold up, this is Ymir. This is somebody I know.
Yeah, and
then Armin a weird thing to say.
I know this Titan.
Armin and Mikasa are both like, that's what she looks like.
Yeah, because most of the other scouts hadn't seen her as a Titan really.
He's like, hey, ugly.
Yeah, Conny immediately goes like, hey, ugly, tell us. I'm like, get her,
where's
Conny.
Eren?
Let's go.
He like stomps on her head a couple times.
He's supposed to Levi.
And then lands on her shoulder. And he's like, we don't have time for this. And then Armin is slowly putting together something's off.
Yeah,
why is she looking at everybody?
Yeah, she's just being quiet there. They know that she said something before.
She did speak before. She said, want live?
And they all
grab me.
Yeah, they all surrounded her. And they're like, hey, did you fight Reiner? Did you get away from Bertholdt? Where's Eren? Where did they go? What happened?
We're here to save you.
Give us 21 questions.
Says nothing.
She's just like, the first time Ymir doesn't want to speak in her whole life. Okay, all right. So she like looks around and she's like looking. You're like,
Armin realizes she's looking for someone.
Why is she studying us all? Then she hears.
And then your crush walks into the room, hair all done up, and you're like,
she's like,
you here for me?
I knew you'd still be alive.
I'm gonna stick you in my mouth.
I came to save
Historia.
you.
Historia comes in, and you see Ymir jump, and you're like, oh, it's gonna be a really nice moment. They're gonna grab each other and be so happy. And then Ymir opens her fat mouth and swallows.
Slurps her
Christa.
up like a noodle. Her little legs sticking out of her mouth, and she's like,
yep.
It's a little bit like a noodle. That's
and then
gross,
she
but
immediately heads the opposite direction.
And then she just monkeys it through the trees.
And Armin says she lured us in. She's obviously against us.
She's on their side now.
We have to follow her. We see her. We see Bertholdt, and we see Reiner transform.
Yeah, he jumps out the trees. He transforms. They all jump on his back and
run off into the sunset.
In
not a good
End
way.
of series.
All the scouts say. Don't just stand there. Get your horses. We have to pursue her. And it ends.
Hannes says that.
Specifically, because they're all stopped.
Snap
at the
out
edge
of
the
it, guys! Get on your horses and chase after them.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save Eren, even if it costs me my life.
Yeah, he says, I'm gonna save Eren. I've got to get him back.
It's like in League of Legends,
Hannes is a boss, man.
You're in a team fight and you go deep and you're like, I I can't back out of this fight. I have to go even deeper. I have to go for that ADC in the back line. I have to kill him.
All right. Well,
anyway,
it's almost 10.
Okay, we love you guys. Yeah, we'll do a little bit of spoilers, even though we said we're gonna do a lot of spoilers. Here we are again.
We talked for an hour.
There's a lot of deep stuff to get into.
It's
here.
Cool.
Anyway, shoot us an email again if you have any information on the whereabouts
at
of
gmail.com.
Yeah, Beyond the Basement at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find us on Facebook. We did not live stream tonight. We're having a technical issue with the camera, but normally we start live streams Sunday nights. Yeah, find us on YouTube
between 8 and 10 p.m.
Watch, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And this is your chance to turn your phone off if you don't want to hear spoilers, because they're coming fast and hard. 3, 2, 1. Spoilers!
Wait.
Spoilers!
These spoilers are so hot, I have to leave the room.
He said the spoilers are so hot that he has to leave the... Okay, well, Pete has to...
So Pete will return after a short potty break.
I don't know how urgent it is, but this is the first
Apparently
time
it's really
the show,
urgent.
So it must be urgent. Okay, so Pete, this is the most juicy... Whatever, dude. All right, fine. All right, we'll start at the beginning. It's Connie's mom.
He holds the picture upside down. I love that part. And then he starts like having a mini panic attack. Like... It's because it actually is his mom, and he realizes that there's no doubt in his mind anymore.
We've already said this part 5 times.
Yeah.
But how did they actually get transformed? Like, did Zeke go in there?
Zeke had syringes, but then again, how does he? I don't know, man. It's a mystery.
So,
well, Ymir already pointed it out. You know that the Beast Titan showed up, and then there are all these Titans in the walls, and she puts together that he has something to do with it.
Sure, we know.
So we know
maybe
he has Titan dust, and he's a fairy. And he flies around. I don't know.
Okay, so this is the part we kind of talked about a lot. Is they dropped this line. He says if Aaron turns out to be the coordinate, it'll be much easier having Christa having Christa with us will make the search much easier. So the coordinate thing. So I'm curious to watch because we're watching on Crunchyroll now, and I'm curious to see how Crunchyroll translates all. We've seen season 2 now, how it goes into season 3, talking about this quote coordinate, because this language doesn't get used a lot except for right here. Coordinate meaning the guy that we're after, or coordinate meaning the person with the founding Titan powers,
or someone who can coordinate Titans.
That's kind of what I think it means. Is coordinate meaning like somebody who can?
Which it seems like in that one scene when Aaron does the magic thing. He can.
Right, and I think that's when they realize, like, okay, he is the coordinate, because we know that he has the founding Titan power and the attack Titan power, and I think that...
Reiner's like, why did it have to be you? Like, he didn't want Aaron to be the coordinate
But
at
this point, in this episode, they don't know that he has that other power. They know... I think they probably well know that he has the attack Titan power that went missing, 20 years ago, however long it was. At any rate... Yeah.
I want to know what that line about Christa being part of an important family in the church actually means, and what is the church to them?
Well, yeah, that's something we talked about. So we were confused for a second. We thought they were talking about Ymir being important to the church, and we realized, like, wait, no. They're talking about Christa as an important member of a family in the church, which makes me think that the church has more prestige than maybe in the... Which, well, no, we know the church has prestige because they were there at Aaron's trial and... Basically,
there was 2 members of the church at that table with Erwin when he was in the tribunal thing. Like this wall cult that we think is just a cult, at least within the walls, seems to have a heck of a lot more power than originally we thought. At least I thought in the beginning of the series when Aaron kind of refers to them as nut jobs, and the one wall cult guy is like, "Everyone's gonna die." Well, I gets eaten by a Titan, like a crazy person. But it seems like they have a lot more power, and somehow Christa is an important family member in the church, and that somehow has something to do with why she's important to them, which to me is confusing.
Seriously, how do they know?
It's interesting that they say that Ymir has the blood of the king, when obviously Historia actually has some sort of royal blood.
The blood of the king. But they don't know that necessarily
yet. They
don't
know that necessarily, yeah.
There's no way for them to know that.
But
why come back for
why
her
is she
other
important
than
to
Reiner
them?
likes her? You know what I mean? Like, even that. Like.
So I was speculating that maybe whenever a Titan shifter touches someone of royal blood, that they have some... Because we see Aaron touch Historia
But I
and
wonder.
he has this weird moment of realizing she's important. And
but
we know Reiner's made physical contact with Christa.
Yes.
And we assume that his is because he thinks she's hot, but maybe it's because he realized she has Titan blood in her.
Okay, could be.
Yeah,
but
could be sneaky.
Kind of thought that the Eren touching his story and something happening was because he has the founding. He has Rice's Titan. He has the founding Titan power in him.
That's possible too.
Plus,
I don't really know.
Why would they need Historia? They have Zeke.
Yeah, true.
Unless he doesn't know.
Well, Zeke doesn't know he's royal. I don't know, dude.
Yeah.
Which I've speculated too. I've speculated that Zeke doesn't really know who he is because he's been lied to.
But, do you think
very much like Ymir?
Do you think the cultists, the Ymirian cultists, do you think that was the founding of the wall restorationists that Zeke's parents were a part of?
Interesting.
Possible.
Because they are definitely a persecuted group.
I think that
they're punished in the exact
good,
same way that.
Yeah.
That.
We also noticed the
Christa
wall cult guy had similar dress to, or I'm sorry, the
Ymir
underground cult guy, Ymir cult, had similar dress to the wall cult guys. It's obviously different because they have the three pictures of the three walls, but they have that same scoop neck collar and the same color.
Yeah. Could they somehow be connected?
Are they connected to each other? Who knows?
I don't know, dude. I don't know, but I think ultimately there is, and I think the religion inside of Marley, we've got to see more of that. That will have to come to light in season 4.
Yeah, the wall restorationist, the owl, all of that.
Before I forget about it, when Ymir is in the desert after she becomes a human, and you see the streaks of light going down to a point, Eren has a vision of that exact same picture.
When?
I don't remember which season, but I do remember seeing that exact same image connected to a completely different person where there's like the streaks of light going down, and I think
it looks a little bit like
it's in season 4 trailer also. I think there's a flash of that.
It does look a little bit like the Titan Memories thing in
that's what
3.
I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
When
that stream of light that comes down to a point in the horizon in front of her reminds me of the memories coming together. It was
the midichlorians. It's the Force.
Ymir's never talked about any memories of Marcel, right? We hope we're going to get some memories out of
Armin.
Out of Armin when he's fossil.
I really hope.
But I mean, who knows, man?
But there's Grisha could have been onto something when he says, "Let the memories guide you." Maybe he knows that, listen, you're going to have the founding Titan, and that founding Titan is the one that has a particular
Eren
power.
has a bunch of dreams throughout the show, and he has flashes of different things, and that picture of the starry night sky with the streams of light coming down flashes in his dreams.
You have to do some research, some homework,
and
find it
I'll
for us.
I'll find it.
Get us a screen cap.
All right.
This one's not such a big one, but when he's like, "Yeah, you got to go tell Annie how you feel," and he's like, "You guys are both murderers with a short life to live ahead. You're perfect for each other."
He's
only
to the
funny
that
when
they
you
have 13
they only live 13 years after they become shifters.
Yep.
Interesting perspective on that. Bertholdt had a crush on Annie.
Mm-hmm.
Who eats Bertholdt? Armin,
who also has a crush on Annie.
Oh. Interesting.
Oh.
That maybe the female Titan and the colossal Titan will get together after all, just not the way we
They're
thought.
star-crossed lovers.
We're hoping for a lot.
Maybe we're hoping for too
all
much.
of our dreams are going to be crushed.
Reiner turns, and which I think is the more likely of anything.
That Annie turns,
and that Annie also turns, and they fight on behalf of the Paradise. It's just maybe
it's too much to ask for.
Depends.
Maybe we're setting ourselves up for a lot of sadness.
I love the fact that Ymir just works out that they plan to feed her to one of the warriors to get her power.
Well,
and she just casually mentions it I have accepted that this is my fate.
Well, obviously she knows that's how you transfer power, even though she doesn't really remember much, that's interesting.
What?
I wonder how much...
She surmised that because of that conversation that they had.
Oh, sorry. We moved on to one. I was trying to actually get to that. So next spoiler.
You have to eat a Titan shifter to become a Titan shifter.
Yeah.
To gain its power.
They don't fully explain it has to be a Titan shifter. They don't fully explain that every human or every Titan is actually probably an Eldian who's been punished or whatever. They don't fully explain that. You can kind of assume that here, but obviously we'll learn that later. What the heck? I just lost my train of thought.
But we have to eat a Titan shifter to become a Titan shifter to gain that power. There's only 9 powers we know, and you can only get that power by eating the other one.
Oh, you don't remember it when it happens.
You don't remember.
So
you don't remember who
the kind of
ate.
flash of Aaron, like, Dad, what are you doing here? Like, I almost think that we, as the viewer, get that, and that Aaron doesn't even have that.
Aaron remembers being injected like Ymir remembers being injected, but he remembers it in a more broken way because he's a child. He was being traumatized.
But also, doesn't his dad say this will help? This will make you forget.
I think he does say that.
I think he just says, "Don't worry, you'll forget," or
maybe just because of the.
He certainly doesn't remember. He may remember getting stabbed, but he doesn't remember the part that they specifically forget is once they are a Titan eating their victim. That part doesn't seem like it's in anybody's mind,
which is nice because if I'm going to eat human flesh, right. I really rather would not remember that.
Yeah,
which of course Bertholdt even says, "I'm sure when Ymir apologizes, he says, I'm sure you didn't want to eat a human."
Yeah,
because who would want that except a crazy flipping cannibal?
Yeah. Ymir somehow, though, she surmised that this is how you transfer power is by eating somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that I have an issue with still is the fact that her dumb Titan and her
Titan Shifter Titan look the same.
Look exactly the same. They're like barely any different. And you're like,
I don't really think they are different, really.
Yeah, it's just so weird to me.
Because when you see the image of her rising up out of the ground, she looks exactly the same as she does.
Yeah.
Except for her teeth. That's the only thing that's different. And the claws. She gets claws and sharp teeth, but everything else is the same.
How did Grisha find Aaron after the walls came down?
That is something I have wondered for a long time.
Somebody explain that. How did Armin and Mikasa not know that
it must
Grisha
have been at
showed
night.
up, snuck away with Aaron? It clearly was at night. It's in the dark and it's out in the woods somewhere.
He must have somehow
did
hidden
he know
among
they're
the crowds
literally
of
in
people.
A crowd of refugees. I don't know, bro.
He must have figured it out. I mean, he's clearly good at sneaking around.
Yeah, I mean, he's been doing it for a long time.
He snuck into the walls.
Yeah.
True that. Okay, I don't know if there's anything else I really wanted to hit as far as like spoilers are concerned here.
What the heck is that? When
he says we can come back and we can get Annie and we can get Christa and we can get that.
Is he talking about the coordinate?
I think he's talking about the coordinate.
No.
If it doesn't turn out to be,
or is it something else?
Because he says it kind of in the same sentence.
There's a translation mishap there.
I want to watch this in different translations to see if it's any better.
Yeah, I have a hunch that there's something lost in translation there.
Hannes prophesied his own demise.
This is really scary.
Which hurt me so. I was like,
I'll even trade my own life. This is a great
exactly what happened.
Full arc, which we're about to get the truest of all the full arcs that ever was.
Yeah.
When Aaron kills the commands and kills the Titan that ate his mom.
Have you noticed that Hannes,
which was also his father's first wife?
Hannes always has the things for Grisha's wife.
Mm.
Oh, come on.
He has this, interaction with Carla, and then he has this interaction with Grisha's first wife, man.
It's just weird.
It's just weird, Hannes. Get your own woman. Gosh. Anyway, Hannes
the worst luck ever.
Prophesies, even if it takes my own life, I'm going to get Aaron back. And he does.
Which is why we think Aaron's going to die in the end, because that one line. Okay. Well, that's about it. Thank you all for joining us.
I think they're all going to die in the end because of what Hannes says. He says, don't worry, you'll catch up to him just like you always do.
Oh,
maybe they do all die.
Dang, Hannes, quit being so deathly prophesying.
Anyway, this is the end of the episode. Unfortunately for you, you're going to have to wait for the next one if you're up to current, and if you're not, you can just binge straight on ahead. Leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. That would be much appreciated. Help the spread the word a little bit, and then get hyped for season 4. Find us on the YouTubes, and watch us live on Facebook. I don't know what else to say. I mean, what can you add to that?
Thank you for being fans and watching the show.
Yep.
Yes,
you make
it's been a fun
this
journey
exciting
with you guys.
For us.
We will see you in the next episode. Thanks again for watching and listening. If you're enjoying the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're really loving it and you want some extra cool content, you can join our Patreon page over at patreon.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Check the show notes or our social media pages for links to some really rad Attack on Titan merch. All right, guys. See you next time.